Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me to participate in this important conference. Hezbollah is the leading proxy of Iran in the Middle East and in the world, and Iran is the main country in the world supporting terrorism today, the leading country. The main mission of the Iranian proxies to promote the interest of Iran is using terrorism to bring instability, chaos, and to make tensions in regions in the world and in which Iran wants to promote their political goals, security goals, and to establish their influence with emphasis on the greater Middle East. To understand the unique status of Hezbollah as the main proxy of Iran, we need to go back 40 years back to the year of the establishment of the organization, 1982. After the Islamic Revolution, the Shia Islamic Revolution in Iran, and the rise of the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khomeini, in February 1979, war in the middle of a bloody war with Iraq between 1980 and 1988. At the same time as establishing his rule within the country and the war in Iran, Khomeini, the supreme leader of Iran, started to promote the idea of exporting the revolution, the Shia revolution around the world, and to object the ideas, the Western ideas and the enemies of the Islam, headed by Israel and United States. They called the United States and Israel the big devil and the little devil. Later, the idea of the expansion of Iran called the Shiite Crescent. The Shiite Crescent is a term that was first introduced in 2004 by King Abdullah of Jordan. In the idea is that Iran tried to exploit the regions in which there is a big Shia population and there is no central control or instability of the country, to get their foothold and to make them areas of influence. The first step and the first country to export the revolution, the Iranian revolution, was Lebanon, because the Shia community in Lebanon has ties with Iran before the revolution in Iran, and at the head of the revolution in Iran stand the people that already had the connections with the elite formed in the 60s and 70s in Lebanon, the elite from the Shia community. And this elite was stronger after the revolution in Iran. In the middle of this process, Israel has invaded to Lebanon in June 1982 to fight against terror organizations, Palestinian terror organization headed by PLO with the leader Yasser Arafat, that launched a lot of attacks and terror activity against Israel from Lebanon. The event actually started as an operation, and later on it became the first Lebanese war, as we call it in Israel. After 3 or 4 months, the PLO exploded from Lebanon, and the war changed the reality in Lebanon that was already, there was already instability in Lebanon, and gave the Iran the opportunity to deepen their influence in Lebanon, and gave her some kind of starting point to implement the ambitions that based on ideological, religious, strategic, and political interest, despite the fact that it was still in a bloody war with Iraq. Iran saw the invasion to Lebanon, the Israeli invasion to Lebanon, as a conspiracy, Zionist conspiracy with the Americans that obligate Iran to stand against it with the Islam, with the revolution, and so Lebanon as a distinction, the first distinction of that, and the center to export the revolution and to involve Lebanon in the holy war, the jihad, the holy war against Israel, as a part of their understanding how to build a new Islamic society. The main force that was deal with that was the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, the IRGC, that the main role in the Iranian regime is to protect the regime, and they are also the main military force in Iran, and also is responsible for the exporting the revolution outside of Iran, outside the borders of Iran, mainly using terrorism, subversion, and supporting terror Islamic organizations, with emphasis on Shiite organizations around the world. In the Revolutionary Guards, in the IRGC, there is Al-Quds Force, or Jerusalem Force of the IRGC, who is the leading organization of the activity of Iran in the Middle East. And soldiers of these organizations have arrived in the middle of 1982 when Israel invaded to Lebanon, and was one of the main factors that established Hezbollah and continue to support him until today. The weakness of the political system in Lebanon and the chaotic situation in the country gave to Iran and gave to Hezbollah the opportunity and enabled him to establish the organization very quickly with the support in Iran, the support of Iran. The use of violence was one of the main tools to the development of Hezbollah organization, and the organization do together the resistance, what we call in Arabic the Muqawama, for the struggle against Israel, and with the implementation of and the wish of Islamic regime in Lebanon. In the long run, the objective was to give a public support, and in the long run, Islamic Shia regime in Lebanon. The influence of Hezbollah inside the Shia community was stronger and stronger, as much as the military activity in Lebanon, and they got the thinking and the view of the international society and other countries and inside Lebanon. In the first step, between 1982 and 1984, the new organization start with activity to deport the American and French forces that was part of the multinational force in Lebanon, and they use a session of suicide bombing activities against these forces and interests, and also against Israel. And they were the first that used suicide bombers in the Middle East in 1982. This was the first attack, and also they did the kidnapping of foreigners for negotiation. In the next step, after the American and the French forces left Lebanon, they focused their activity against Israeli military forces in Lebanon, using terror activity, guerrilla warfare, but they avoid frontal confrontation with the IDF forces, and they take advantages from the issue that they know the area, they know the population, they have supporting population in South Lebanon, the area that was the playground for the activity. Hezbollah becoming stronger and improve its capabilities with the support of Quds Force. And after 18 years of fighting between 1982 and 2000, Israel IDF forces withdraw from Lebanon, but the organization continue to grow, continue to be stronger, and in that way, from an organization with tens and hundreds of warriors and fighters, in the year of 2000, they had more than 10,000 fighters, trained by Iran, with infrastructure of civilian infrastructure, economic infrastructure, religious infrastructure, and social infrastructure, network of education and health. And also in 1992, Hezbollah first came into the political system in Lebanon. So at the beginning, the budget, most of the budget came from Iran was tens of millions of dollars in the beginning of the 80s. And in the year of 2000, it became more than $100 million after the Israeli withdrawal from Lebanon. But the organization continued with the support of Iran to grow and to go after the vision of destroying the state of Israel and establish a Palestinian country instead of Israel and a Shia Muslim regime in Lebanon. The tension between Israel and Hezbollah continue, and in 2006, a war broke out between Israel and Hezbollah after Hezbollah kidnapped 2 Israeli soldiers from Israeli border from inside Israel. In this war, Hezbollah and Lebanon suffered a lot of damage and many casualties, and into Israel launched thousands of rockets, and Israel also lost a lot of soldiers and civilians. In retrospect, Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, said, or the organization leader, that if he had known that this would be Israel's response, he would not have ordered the kidnapping. And also Nasrallah was reproached by Iran, since Iran saw Hezbollah as a strategic arm of Iran for a crucial day, with emphasis with the struggle and confrontation with the West countries, especially on the issue of the Iran nuclear capability. But Hezbollah is also an organization with a Lebanese identity, and saw himself and considered himself as the shield of Lebanon, and this is a constant tension at the identity of the organization. After the war, Iran poured a lot of money, tens of millions of dollars, to Lebanon through Hezbollah for the rehabilitation of Lebanon. And the organization continued to grow. And after the war, they came with new capabilities and very advanced capabilities and technology. And today, in these days, this is the strongest armed military force in the country, in Lebanon. In fact, it is an organization that has a country. That's the point in Lebanon today. Up to today, to 2022, the Hezbollah has more than 50,000 fighters, very trained, very well trained, and a few tens thousands of militia activists, a budget more than $1 billion a year from Iran, more than 100,000 rockets and missiles that cover all the area of Israel, an air defense system, unmanned aerial vehicles, UAV and drones, and other capabilities and means of combat in a scope and quality that many countries do not have. This is Hezbollah today with the support in Iran. Iran saw Hezbollah as the model of proxy and used it and still use Hezbollah and his capabilities in time of crisis, and also for special operations in Western countries and against Israel and other enemies of Iran, and also to implement their influence in the Middle East. Iran was helped by Hezbollah organization in the Iran-Iraq war in the 80s, in establishment of secret cells in countries around the Iranian Gulf. Also establishment of sleeping cells around the world with emphasis of South America, North America, and Europe, mainly based on Shia communities and Lebanese communities. Also, there is now, and it started in 2011, a combined system of Hezbollah and Iran to Syria and the civil war that started in 2011, and it allowed Iran to increase and consolidate its hold in Syria until today. By the way, Syria is not a Shia country, but it's in the Middle East. It has a border on Israel, and now there is a presence of Iranian forces and Hezbollah in Lebanon supporting the Syrian army until today. Iran continue to support Hezbollah indirectly and directly, and also supporting other terror organizations. Also terror organizations, they are not Shia organizations, and I think they will be elaborate in this session later on, in the struggle against Israel and other enemies of Iran. In conclusion, the principles of Iran's proxies, of which Hezbollah is the model, are vision and long-term vision, very clear, tolerance and patience, exploitation of unstable regions and regimes, Iran Revolutionary Guard as an executive arm, a large shared community as a basis for building infrastructure, or another Muslim entity that acts against the West and Israel, establishing a military infrastructure based on existing organization, or establishing a new organization, a gradual and long-term construction, ongoing support and provision of resources, money, equipment, weapons, military training, and intelligence, ideological intention, building a social, religious, and supportive educational infrastructure that is part of the organization and its environment, and creating a common identity and unity in interest and goal, setting an overreaching goal and the intermediate goal as a part of a long-term vision to create Iranian hegemony and defeat the enemies of Iran. And at the end, assisting the organization's proxy in building capabilities in other places, and integrating the organization in other combat areas in accordance with Iran's needs and goals. Thank you.